Tunes, I'm Luke, and in today's video I'm going to be giving you a look at One Excellent Scene. So for anyone who doesn't know, a bunch of high profile YouTubers have got together and produced videos for a collaboration where they each take a look at one excellent scene from across the entire X-Men franchise to tie into the release of the new Mutants movie, which has since been delayed. And they've opened up the collab to anyone who wants to make a video on the topic. And that's where I come in. Now, I'm not really a big fan of the X-Men movies, to be quite honest. I think they're largely okay with a few standout exceptions. But I will say there are some excellent scenes, and pretty much most of them have already been covered. But Luke, this is Tunes. Why would you be talking about some live action films? Well, you're right, it is. And that's why I want to talk to you about one excellent scene from the animated series X-Men Evolution. X-Men Evolution aired on Kids WB in the early noughties, and like a lot of Kids WB shows, a lot of the main characters were kids. Well, teens. And you know what that means? Early noughties fashion. Of course, the original team of X-Men created by Stan Lee in the 60s were also teenagers. And the idea of teens attending school at the X-Mansion had been a mainstay of the X-Men comics ever since the introduction of Kitty Pryde and the New Mutants during the early 80s. The particular excellent scene I want to look at is from the two-part Season 2 finale, Day of Reckoning. Oh, and by the way, there will be spoilers for a show that came out, well, 20 years ago. Now, I truly love this show, and there are lots of scenes I could have picked from. Like a scene between Scott and his brother Alex, or Hank's transformation into Beast, a lot of the scenes with Rogue or Jean learning to control their powers, or any of the scenes involving Mystique being the mother of both Rogue and Nightcrawler. I said spoilers. So why this scene? Well, for context, during the first 2 seasons of the show, the existence of mutants is unknown to the public, and the show deals with the characters juggling a double life. In this series, to help distinguish it from the beloved X-Men the animated series from the 90s, the mutant powers acted more as an analogy for puberty rather than being an analogy for oppression. A little similar to a famous webhead. This was all about to change, however. The Day of Reckoning features the characters of the X-Men and the Brotherhood not of Evil Mutants teaming up to stop Magneto and his acolytes. When Magneto gets the upper hand, however, he thrusts the merry band of mutants into the grasp of Sentinel, which had been waiting in an underground facility. With the X-Men now doing battle with a giant robot on the streets of upstate New York, it wasn't long before we see a news crew capture the footage. Juxtaposed against images of our favourite characters fighting for their lives and to save Bayside, the city they call home, we see one by one the faces of the teens' classmates discovering that their friends aren't what they thought. This right here is an excellent scene. It's got action, it's got comedy, it's got suspense, as well as shock value for both the characters on screen as well as we, the audience. The action itself is fairly well choreographed, showcasing each individual's power set and showing how they would deal with a threat they haven't faced the likes of before. The staging and layout, as well as the editing and cinematography, are great. There are lots of quick cuts to hide the fact that they're using stunt doubles instead of actors because, well, they're cartoons. And this allows us to get a good sense of what's going on and where the characters are placed in the scene. The reactions on the faces of the classmates are very telling on how the series will move going forward. Duncan, who is dating Jean Grey at the time, is shocked and he's possibly insecure at the idea of his girlfriend being more powerful than him. He would later refer to her powers as a problem that he could overlook, as long as she helps him cheat at school. She instantly breaks up with him, leading to him becoming an antagonist for all the mutant characters at school. Principal Kelly looks on in disbelief as he sees that some of his students are what he sees as dangerous threats. He would go on to try and get the cast expelled, as well as just generally making their lives more miserable simply for being mutants as the series progressed, adding to their persecution. Amanda, Kurt/Nightcrawler's girlfriend, already knows about his secret and presumably about mutants in general, so she has more of a concerned look and is scared how this may affect Kurt and his friends going forward. See, the show, while being fairly episodic, had actually laid a lot of groundwork in leading up to this finale. The first episode of the season actually featured the Brotherhood expels mutants at a school soccer game, only for Magneto and Charles to intervene. In a holiday-themed episode, Warren Worthington goes around saving people as an angel, and being one of the first instances of the public seeing a superpowered individual. Logan's annual Focus episode, he was only allowed one a season, this is Kids WB, remember, shows us that S.H.I.E.L.D. knows of the mutants' existence, as well as the public knowing of a wartime Captain America. Additionally, in this episode, Kurt's image inducer gets knocked off during an altercation with bully Drew Pale, only for Jean to intervene and erase his mind. All these instances showcase a varying public reaction to mutants as a concept. When the Brotherhood attack the game, chaos. People at first seem happy to be saved by an angel, but when they see that he's a fairly normal guy but with wings, they deride him a freak. Drew wigs out and threatens to tell everyone that Kurt's a freak. Yet we see people like Amanda Sefton and Nick Fury who are outright welcoming towards mutants. Additionally, S.H.I.E.L.D., knowing of the existence of mutants, is what led Bolivar Trask to build a Sentinel to destroy them. In Operation Rebirth, we see Charles and Logan note the growing population of mutants and how they won't be able to keep the secret much longer. All these things help point to the idea that the secret would soon be out, and that mutants would receive a generally mixed reaction from the public going forward. This scene right here, this excellent scene, changes the course of the show from that point on. The show now deals with the persecution of mutants by the general public as well as their classmates. Recurring characters Paul and Taran, seen here reacting to the news, are almost dropped from the show as they no longer want to hang out with mutants. The show's original character of Spike, seen here attacking the Sentinel after it takes out his Aunt Aurora, aka Storm, would go on to leave the series with his mutation making him feel unwelcome around humans. Additionally, Spike's departure would see the character Bobby Drake Iceman take on a larger role in the series, perhaps fitting due to Spike replacing him in the original lineup of the show. One of the more obvious changes it made to the show going forward, however, is it simply allowed them to tackle more ambitious set pieces. Battles could now take place in the open without the writers having to worry about the public finding out about mutants. With this very battle, this excellent scene, being the first example of this in the show, as opposed to the more covert missions or the simple rivalry between the X-Men and the Brotherhood. This of course allowed the show to go bigger in scope as they ramped up the storytelling, heading towards the introduction of Apocalypse. But you might be wondering why. Why did Magneto want to reveal the mutant population to the world? He seemed quite happy to keep the secret in the season's premiere episode, magnetically blocking the television feed of the soccer game. Well, Magneto wanted it to be revealed on his terms, in the biggest, most threatening way imaginable. Like most things X-Men, this series featured an ongoing rivalry between Magneto and Professor X, which, to this point, was a hypothetical debate on whether or not humans would accept mutants. Like usual, Eric thinks they won't accept them and outright persecute them, whereas Charles thinks they will accept them, or at the very least tolerate them. But with the public not knowing the secret, the debate is purely theoretical. Now, this is a fairly unique take on the characters, as we've never seen them exist in a world that doesn't know of mutant kind. The film X-Men First Class would go on to explore a similar idea in much greater depth than this show. So Magneto wants to expose mutants to the world in a way that will ensure the reaction he expects, which will then, in his eyes, justify his war on humanity. His plan, however, does start to backfire on him when both the Sentinel and his daughter Scarlet Witch attack him at the same time. Yes, he is her father. Never mind that recent retcon. In this continuity, Wanda was institutionalized by her father at a young age when she couldn't control her powers. And so in this emotional scene, she confronts him for the first time in years in order to get payback on him and her brother Pietro for leaving her. Now, I said the reaction to mutants would be mixed, right? And I've really only been talking about how they were persecuted in later episodes. Well, the school board ultimately decided to let the mutants stay at the school. And in a scene that features both Storm and Beast at a Senate hearing about the mutant menace, which seems incredibly inspired from the X-Men films, by the way, leads to the president issuing a statement that the X-Men are freed of any charges when they find out that Trask was really the one behind the Sentinel and not mutants themselves. Now, of course, there was lots of other things going on in the series finale. Mystique was posing as Professor X, and Cyclops and the New Mutants were trapped inside the mansion that had been left to explode. This scene is both the culmination of the show's plotlines as well as a springboard for the show moving forward. Not only is it an excellent scene, but an important scene for the show as a whole. And if you want to hear about some more excellent scenes, there's a whole playlist to go check out by some of YouTube's top creators. And if you want more X-Men Evolution, well, you can check out all 4 seasons on Amazon Prime here in the UK, or all 4 seasons on Disney Plus in the US. If you've made it this far and I've not spoiled it for you, go check it out, it's a great show. And if you've enjoyed this video from me, feel free to hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell to keep up to date with all my animation related videos. I'd also really appreciate it if you gave this video a like. And lastly, I want to say a big thank you to Nando V Movies, not only for getting together a bunch of amazing creators to create some truly excellent videos, but for opening it up and allowing the smaller channels to take part. I hope you liked this video. Were any of you fans of X-Men Evolution growing up? What did you think of the show's change in direction? What were your favourite episodes? Let me know down below. I'd love to have a conversation with you about it. Thanks for watching, guys. Cheers. Can't see. Thanks for watching Tube of Toons. If you want more from the channel, hit subscribe. If you want to keep up to date with what's going on, follow us on our socials. Hope you liked it. Cheers.